And as the clock on the church confirms, it's just after 8:30 here on a Friday morning in Leeds. And I'm in Leeds because I've come to Leeds, done a bit of travelling, and now I need to get back to Devon. So yeah, so that's cross-country train Leeds to Exeter. No. Well, I probably blame Mark at Let's Make a Trip for this, but I've got a little bit into riding on buses, so I'm going to go back down home to Devon on Megabus. It's a two-stage trip. It's firstly from here down to Bristol, and then a 30-minute wait in Bristol before I pick up the Falcon to carry on taking me to Exeter. It's going to be a long ride, and it's going to be a cheap ride, so more of that as we go along, but I'm feeling okay about it. I mean, it's just to sit on a bus, isn't it? How hard can it be? Yeah, let's wander around to Leeds bus station. We're leaving from stand 1 today, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. And whilst I appear fairly chipper talking into the camera, frankly, I was a little nervous at the thought of a bus journey that could take me around 10 hours. Anyway, the bus station is here, and there's a handy co-op across the road where you can buy supplies before boarding. And the bus station itself, well, it's functional if not classy. Although those barriers are there to protect the buckets that are catching the rain when it comes in. That's not great, is it? We do have a bit of time, so let's do a quick end-to-end walk. And then what will happen is we pop out across the road from the lovely Playhouse building. Right, let's get back inside because there's still time to pop to Greggs for a good strong coffee and also a vegan sausage roll, which, incidentally, are quite popular with meat eaters too. Back at stand 1, and we're across from the staffed travel centre, which is doing pretty brisk business. Oh, and I also spy a little bit of trades union history. And now we're boarding, pretty much on time. So, whilst I settle into my seat, let's have a look at the route for this Megabus odyssey. We'll head out of Leeds to the M62 for a short hop to Huddersfield, and then further down the M62 to Manchester. After another stop at Manchester Airport, we'll continue down the M6 to Birmingham. Then it's out of Birmingham to join the M5. And after another quick stop at Cheltenham, the bus will roll into Bristol. That bus will be continuing on to Cardiff, but I'm going to change here for the Falcon service that runs from Bristol to Plymouth. It's a more local service, so it has stops at Bristol Airport, Bridgwater, Taunton, Columpton, and then a couple of stops in Exeter. I'll be out of the bus at Sowton Park and Ride, and if we arrive on time, I will have a quick dash to Digby and Sowton railway station for the final run into my hometown of Topsham. This rather megabus route will carry me 496 kilometres, or 308 miles, and all in it's scheduled to take 9 hours and 25 minutes. That gives us an average speed of just 33 miles per hour. And we're off, so let's put the clock on this and see how it goes. And I have a feeling it will be a very long ride. From up here on the bus, there's a great view of Leeds Locks as we leave the city. And soon we're speeding out on the M621 past Elland Road, the home of Leeds United. And it's not long before we're nosing through the palatial suburbs of Huddersfield and swinging into their bus station, where, upon exiting, our driver completely ignores a reversing bus and gets a very understandable "what the heck" gesture from the other driver. It's a quick and very pretty run back to the M62, whereupon we are immediately treated to a lovely view of the Scamandon Reservoir. And we're now on the Transpennine section of the M62, and the upland moors look beautiful this morning. The comfort and the ride, well, they're okay, but the views are keeping those kinds of thoughts well away from my mind right now. But the fun cannot last, and the next bit of city driving is soon upon us as we begin to negotiate the run into central Manchester. And like with most cities, the road in shows off some good and some bad bits. It seems like we have to complete a full circuit of the bus station as we're due to stop at stand G. Leaving the bus station, and there's more wealth and poverty on show before we get a nice look at Manchester Piccadilly. And also the sweep of the Marriott Hotel, which is a great repurposing of an old 20th century office block. Timed at just over 2 hours to Manchester Airport, I can see this is a useful service from Leeds, especially as the Trans-Pennine Express rail service has been so unreliable in recent years. As we leave and I look up, I remember walking over that overbridge so many times when flying into Manchester for work. You know, I don't miss those days, although I would be back in Exeter an awful lot quicker if I was flying. The M56 quickly morphs into the M6 as we head out on one of the longest sections of the journey. And I've been joined by a very nice young man who hails originally from Sri Lanka, but he now lives and works in Cardiff. And I asked him why he chose the Megabus over the train, and he said it's simply the price. And yes, when you look at the price I paid, this is certainly a very cost-effective way of getting about. Booking just 3 weeks in advance, the whole trip came in at £21.37, including a £1 booking fee. If you've watched my Exeter to Leeds on a Voyager train video, you'll know that this beats the rail prices by a hefty margin. And Megabus have guaranteed me a seat for the whole journey too. The M6 is now taking us through Staffordshire, and that gives us some more lovely countryside to ponder. Just north of Stafford, we traverse the Cresswell Viaduct, over the 4 tracks of the West Coast Main Line, and then we track next to the charmingly named River Penk for just a little way. The motorway interchanges around Birmingham cause us to slow a little, but it really isn't much congestion. Now there's only a short run on the M6 before we head into Birmingham by turning off at the Gravelly Hill interchange. Of course, forever seared into the British consciousness as Spaghetti Junction. Pleasingly, the Aston Expressway lives up to its name and it doesn't take us long to get into central Birmingham, for our drop-off point at Brunel Street. And that's another reminder I'm not riding the train today. The mirror finish of the Grand Central Centre sits atop New Street Station. The train ride from here is just 2.5 hours to Exeter. I've still got 5.5 hours to go. The traffic is mercifully light as we make our way through Britain's old motor city. The West Midlands has been the home of so many historical UK car makers. Once we're past Five Ways, named, I'm sure you've guessed it, because it's the meeting of 5 roads, we get a look at the Edgbaston Village tram stop at the end of the West Midlands Metro. And then we're straight up the Hagley Road in search of the junction for the M5. And suddenly it feels that finally the southwest is not too far away. And that's that one last roundabout and the bus can join the M5 at junction 3. And hopefully, in a few hours, I'll be leaving the same motorway at junction 29 for Exeter. And this is yet another occasion when we can just sit back and relax and watch the miles roll by. And incidentally, there is USB power out the seat if you need a top-up on the way. And also, the trash bags really do help keep the bus tidy. At Strensham, the M50 heads off for Ross-on-Wye and Monmouthshire. And then a bit further south we cross the River Avon and the extensive floodplains of the river. At Cheltenham, whilst the bus stop is referred to as GCHQ Cheltenham, there's no way our Megabus is getting access to one of the most secure sites in the UK, so we pull up at the roadside just a short distance from the building. It's been a very quick stop, and the stop itself is very close to the motorway, so it hasn't cost us much time at all. And so soon we're back barrelling along the M5, passing the Javelin Park Energy from Waste power station incinerator. It's quite cool that they named the place after the Gloucester Javelin aircraft that was built here in the 1950s. My dad actually was on the team that designed the fuel systems, and I still have this little reminder of him on my wall. Soon we're off the M5 and swinging onto the M32, which will deposit us into the centre of Bristol. We are on schedule and I don't have any bottom or back pain from the seat. However, I'm still jolly pleased to be getting a change of scenery. I will have been sat here for over 6 hours when we get into Bristol. And off goes Bertie Bus on their way to Cardiff. Well, there we are, Bristol Cabot Circus. That's 6 hours down, 3 hours to go. And yeah, it looks like my Megabus Falcon is waiting for its driver, and then it'll fire up and then we'll be on our way. It's been a nice pleasant drive down the motorways we got here. They were well driven, nice and smooth. So yeah, here we are. I'll catch you later when we get to Exeter. And on we get to another Volvo B11R. This one's 10 years old, but I think the seats are a bit newer than that. And I think they're an upgrade from Bertie Bus. Mind you, the legroom is pretty tight. As we leave, the next Falcon, in white this time, is already on stand. It's a pretty good service that runs 24 hours a day, linking Bristol with Exeter and Plymouth via Bristol Airport. During the day there's a roughly hourly service, and overnight that drops to 1 every 2 hours. If I'm flying in or out of Bristol Airport, I almost always use the Falcon. In the meantime, our big yellow bus has made it down to the Riverside docks, and, as you'd expect, this is fast becoming a very desirable area of the city. These warehouses were all built in the early 20th century to handle the massive tobacco trade that was flowing through Bristol at the time. All three are Grade 2 listed, with B being the most interesting, as it was the first major building constructed in Britain with reinforced concrete. Bristol Airport is currently getting a new transport interchange that will involve a level transfer between buses and the terminal. But for now, we have to make do with this temporary bus station. And now for the trek across the countryside to get reunited with our old friend, the M5 motorway. Ah, and there she is. I've reviewed the Falcon before, so I won't show you all the stops. Safe to say that the bus works as a long-distance airport service, but it is also used for the fairly short hops between the different towns it serves. Oh, and the aircon had failed on this bus, and the driver opened the skylights to provide some fresh air. I do think some people were unhappy with the temperature, but I was just fine with it, and I did enjoy the fresh air. Clumpton is our last stop, and it's nice to see the signs are now pointing towards Exeter. You know, this has been a very long trip, but it's also been excellent value at nigh on 20 quid. On the same route, National Express takes about the same amount of time with a change at Birmingham, and it appears they charge about £28. I would probably look seriously at that service if I did the trip again, as I do think their buses have better facilities. There are 2 stops at Exeter, and as you'll see, I got off at the second stop in something of a hurry. And behind me there, the Falcon, no doubt, is pulling away, or at least will pull away in a minute. But I can't even look back because it's pulled up, and I've got about 6 or 7 minutes to get round here to the station and get my final leg back to Topsham. So I'll catch up with you when I get to Topsham. And so here we are in Topsham, 9 hours and 30 minutes after the Megabus left Leeds. So, Megabus from Leeds to Exeter, well, it's a long time, isn't it? Pretty much on the nose, twice as long as it would be if you went cross-country. But of course, if you went on the railway, it would cost you a lot more. And I was chatting to a nice guy who was going from Manchester to Cardiff. He sat next to me between Manchester and Birmingham when we were having a chat, and I said to him, well, you can get the train direct from Manchester to Cardiff. And he said, yes, but it's £76 and I want to keep my money to myself. So would I do it again? Yes, if I had to. If I had no vehicle and the train was incredibly expensive or fully booked in some way, or maybe there was a strike or something and I needed to make that journey, then I would. And I wouldn't think twice about, you know, whether it was any problem. I mean, after all, you just sat on a bus. It's a long time, but that's all you're doing, sitting on a bus, listening to some music or doing whatever you think. And yeah, lots of people around me, they were just doing exactly that. And everybody got where they wanted to go at a reasonable price. Hope you've enjoyed this bus version of Johnny Hoover Travels. And if you have, then give it a like and subscribe. If you like buses, I do go on buses now and again, so it's worth subscribing for when they pop up. But yeah, in the meantime, from the road that I'm walking towards my house in Topsham, it's goodbye and thank you very much for watching.